Alrighty, good afternoon, everybody. Happy early Friday, early show for you because I got a special guest joining me today, Mr. Paul from Ebon Sky Studios, and I am really, really excited to bring you guys this news. And yeah, so I just, like I said earlier before the show, I want to verbally vomit questions all over this guy because this game has me, well, game creation tool has me very, very excited, as most of you have seen over social media, Twitter, Discord, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Paul, sir, thank you for joining me. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How's yourself?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. So, I don't even know where to start. So let's go back to the beginning. Have you always been a game creator or a coder or a programmer?
No. So I actually started to code maybe about 10 years ago or so. So when I first lost my sight about 15 years ago, I couldn't code to save my life. I hadn't even considered ever coding. But I come from a huge gaming background from mainstream games. And when I first lost my sight, I kind of really missed gaming. And when I found out about audio games, it just kind of really, just really inspired me. That like the concept that people could play games through sounds alone, and like I just loved the concept. And I sort of checked out the games there and wanted to write my own game, and just taught myself to code from there, really. So yeah, so about 10 years or so.
So you taught yourself how to code. How did you go about doing that? Was there any particular resource you went to?
So I originally started off with just learning something called BGT, which is like a scripting language. The BGT sort of, it's one of those languages that gets a little bit of flack around the, it's actually a discontinued language now. Gets a little bit of flack, but it's got limitations, but it's a great sort of stepping stone first language for people to learn. The guy who wrote it wrote a brilliant tutorial. It's a really, really well written thing, and it sort of just kind of covers the concepts of coding and some of the basics, and it's loosely based around the C language, which is the language that the other language that I'm looking at.
Nice. And what particular engine is the Sable using?
So Sable is a prototype, if you like. So Sable's like a proof of concept. So when we originally wrote it, we didn't really know if the blind community would be interested in an engine like this. So because nothing like this exists in the blind community, there are engines like this in the sighted world, but nothing like this in the blind community. And we just kind of felt that there's a ton of really creative people in the audio games community, but not everyone knows how to code. And that's where we came up with this concept of Sable, which is basically an engine that allows anyone to create a game, but without a single line of code or scripting being needed. So we kind of do all the heavy lifting for you behind the scenes, and you just start up, and within maybe 2-3 minutes you can have a world. You're walking around, placing NPCs and sounds. So it's a proof of concept, really, to find out how well received it is. The proof of the prototype, this current version, is written in BGT because, again, BGT is quick and easy for writing stuff like this because it's a scripting language. And the plan is that we want to produce our own game called Crimson Eclipse, which is going to be written with a prototype engine. Basically, that'll kind of road test Sable fully in a really big sort of RPG and allow us to fine tune it. And then we'll release the prototype as an actual full product. And while people are enjoying that, then I will work on a second engine, if you like, a Sable Mark II, which will be written in C#. So obviously all this is depending on success of Sable and everything else. But so the prototype will get a full release. But yeah, for the moment, the prototype is just a BGT creation.
Okay. And when do you expect to release something where the public can get their hands on it and start making their own worlds?
So we have actually got an alpha out at the moment. So Sable is currently available for free public download for testing purposes. It is sadly it was a 3-week window that we allowed people to have access to Sable for, which sadly comes to an end at the end of this weekend. So we've actually seen a ton of people making games with the current engine. Originally, the plan was that we were only going to do the alpha testing as a private closed testing thing with maybe a group of 5 or 10 people. But with all the corona stuff going on across the world and everything else, and so many people being on lockdown and bored, and do you know what? We thought, well, why not just put it out to everyone? Why not give people something to do, take away some of the boredom? And, people have been supporting Sable for about a year now since we put our first video out. And we thought, it gives something back to the community. People have been wanting to get their hands on it. So we made it a public release, which went live, I think, the 7th or the 8th of May. And it expires at the end of this weekend. So if anyone wants to have a play around, there's still a couple of days left. You can download it. You can literally be up and running in a couple of minutes and creating a world, dropping sounds wherever you want, adding buildings, NPCs. I think a lot of people will know Liam Irvin, who's another blind YouTuber. So we dropped him a pre-release copy of Sable. I think Sable went live on the Sunday, and we dropped him a copy, I think, on the Friday morning. And come the Saturday, he had produced a little mini game himself. So, like, in the space of sort of a morning, he'd sort of done a video, made sounds for it and everything. So, you can definitely do something within 24 hours with this. So that's the nice thing with Sable. Sure, you couldn't make a great big epic game, but you could definitely make something with a few worlds, a few quests, go and do some stuff, create some enemies, do some battling, and so it's all doable with again, not with a huge amount of time, but there is still a little bit of time for people that want to download it. One of the things that I think is going to be quite interesting actually is on the audio games forum, a guy called, or a girl, I'm not sure to be fair, Jaden of the Caribbean. One of the users on there decided he would do a sort of informal topic, basically asking people to post their video recordings of what they've made in Sable over the 3-week period. When I saw this, I thought it'd be a great opportunity. So we turned it into a bit of a competition, and for the person who submits the video that gets the most sort of likes or polls, or we're going to sort of do a vote on it, we'll get a place on our private testing team, so they'll get a few more weeks with Sable because we've got our private testers still working on it. So, yes, it would be a really good thing to go and check out some videos. I've already seen a couple of people drop videos there. And, do you know what? For the fact these guys have had like 2 and a bit weeks, it's super impressive what they've created in that time. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing all the videos. And people have been messaging me them privately. And I've got to look at projects where there have been problems. And, it's amazing just how big some of the worlds are I've seen created. I've seen Hogwarts and all manner of other stuff come my way. So it's been really cool.
Oh man, wait, like I was telling you before the show, the ideas that I have for some of these maps are huge, like ginormous worlds, and it's gonna be huge. I can't wait to be able to do it. Now, you said there's only a couple days left. Is that for the use or just download? Can someone use it beyond that?
Sadly, it will. The actual program itself will expire past the 31st, so it will only give them a couple of days use before it will expire. And the reason for this is because it's an alpha build. It was really sort of a fact-finding information for us to find out, what problems could people find. So it was more about functionality testing, but also what did people like, what would people like to see, and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a really great experience for us. We've had, and again, it was also a chance to gauge how much interest there was in the project, as we just didn't know, to be fair. We've got a really good following of a small group of followings, but it's a really tight group that are really sort of behind Sable, and we knew these people would love it, but we didn't know above and beyond that how many other people would like it. And it seems to have gone really well. I think the thing is, like I said before, I think there's a lot of creative talent in the audio games community, but coding just isn't for everyone. Do you know what? Like, it takes a lot of time to learn, and just, some people don't have the time to learn it. Other people, it's just doesn't do it for them. You need to be very logical thinking, and it's a big process to learn to write a game, and Sable kind of takes that away. So it's primarily sort of aimed at people that have great ideas and stories they want to tell. Maybe they don't have any coding or scripting skills. They can just pick Sable up and just off they go. be creating a world. And again, like the videos you've seen of myself making something, you know, I've made a short video in maybe 20 minutes of like a little teeny, and again, it's only small, but you know, in 20 minutes I can make something that you can be kind of walking around, exploring, speaking to somebody. And yeah, that's what makes Sable novel, just the quickness of being able to throw something together. And obviously if you've got the time, you know, you can script stuff out, make things more epic. So yeah.
Oh wow, so you can get even, so there really is no well, 99% chance that there's no limitation of what you can do to this game. Like I was hearing you talk about the Z axis that you added to the game, and you know, most RPGs don't have 3D. It's only a two-dimensional plane.
Exactly. So what I would say is the only sort of real limitations that are there at the moment or the biggest limitations that we have at the moment is that it is designed specifically for RPGs. So if you wanted to make, say, a first-person shooter, it just wouldn't work for that kind of thing, just because it's not set up for it. So that's one of its sort of biggest sort of limitations, if you like, that it is an RPG creator. And it creates turn-based RPGs. So for anyone sort of familiar with Final Fantasy or in the Blind World, sort of Entombed is a turn-based RPG, or it's not an RPG, but it's a turn-based battle system. But again, that's fairly standard in RPGs these days. So yeah, but the nice thing is you can add your own sounds to literally everything.
Oh man, I was loving that, because I've got over a terabyte worth of sounds and soundscapes.
See, that's awesome, and that makes such a big difference, because again, you know, if we just chucked you a load of sounds, everything would sound the same. And what's really clever is the use that people put some of these sounds to. Like if you saw, like, in the video you did yesterday, like you did the bit where I swung over a pit, and you know, this was just clever use of sounds and some of the in-game mechanics, and you know, it was just like mucking around with different stuff and creating different feels and effects. And yeah, and if you've got a big sound library, you can really make these things sound good. Like I really like my climbing out of the cave thing, you know, I had a really nice sound for it, and put a couple of sounds together. And you know, I'm not great at sound editing, but I enjoy doing it, and you end up with a really good result. So but yeah, everything you can add sounds to. And one of the nice things is there's something called sound sets within Sable. And what a sound set does is you can drop like multiple sounds in there. So if you have like a sword, for example, you could drop 5 or 6 different sword sounds in there, and every time you use a sword, Sable will just pick one at random, and therefore you get like a different sounding, like rather than just being the same attack sound, you know, you get a different sound every time. You could load it with 100 sounds if you wanted, and it'd just pick one of those at random. Same for things like enemy pain sounds, they don't always have to sound the same. And even with terrain sounds, as you're walking along, you know, like if you're walking along grass, it changes ever so slightly, and that's because you can put different grass sounds, and
nice.
It sounds more realistic, rather than just having the same grass step every single time you move. So yes, that's cool. And again, there's other little features with sound sets that you can have. You can store groups of sounds, like for instance with terrains, if you want, you can add bodyful sounds to each terrain type that you add. So if you add a grass terrain, which you just drop the sounds into the steps folder and they'll magically appear in Sable. You can add a folder in there called bodyful and and have specific enemy death sounds that will sound like somebody's falling and dying on grass. Or like if it's in water, like, you know, a big splash as they kind of hit the floor. So yeah, it's just clever use of sounds and stuff.
How about a limitation to the borders on a map? Can you go 1,000 by 1,000 or 50,000 by 50?
So at the moment, we do have a limitation. So the alpha is really limited, and this is the only limitation we put in the alpha build. We gave full access to all features. The only thing that we've restricted is the map size in the alpha. So in the alpha, it's a small map size. You can only make 100 by 100 by 2. But again, I think that's like 20,000 tiles in total, and you can use it how you want. So you might, for instance, have a 50 by 50 by 8, which is still 20,000. The private testers have a 400 by 400. So that's kind of the limit at the moment. It can make bigger than that, but we need to find a balance between saving and loading times, especially because we're using BGT. Potentially in a second gen, we could make them bigger. But for the moment, like 400 by 400 by 1 But again, you could quite easily have that as 300 by 300 by, I can't even do the math on that, but I think it's about 160,000 tiles, 400 by 400. So, pardon me, so it's pretty big.
And people could get clever too. Like, let's say you want, 10 levels, right? You could do 5 levels of 2 maps.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is what we've done in Ebon Sky Studios. So there are lots of maps that just link onto other maps. And there's something called auto transitioning where you can just literally step on a tile and be taken somewhere else. And that might be somewhere else in the same map, or it might be different maps. So again, it takes a little bit of clever game design, but you can kind of build it into your world. So the user thinks they're technically on the same map, and again, a lot of games do this. Even in mainstream games, you kind of you don't realize, but you're actually moving from a map, or as they would call it in mainstream games, like a section or an area. Even though as a player you wouldn't notice it, you're actually quite often transitioning from one section to another.
Right.
But again, mainstream games do it in very clever ways with which I'm not that clever, sadly, but yeah, they always have huge powerful engines that do it all. But yeah, so you just have a little bit of clever game design. But at the moment, the private testers have a 400 by 400. I have personally made bigger maps myself. I think I have made a 1,000 by 1,000 map. The problem is with saving and loading. The bigger your map, the longer it takes to save and load. And how we do it in Sable, and it gets a bit complicated, so I won't bore you with the technicalities. But it basically, because again, I think if you have a 1,000 by 1,000 map, that's 1,000,000 tiles in total,
right?
Which is huge amounts. And if you're putting something on every tile, that's 1,000,000 times it's got to save. 1,000,000 tiles it's got to save effectively. So again, it comes down to saving and loading time. But what we do in Sable to kind of to mitigate this is it only saves tiles you amend. Because again, on a 1,000,000 by 1,000,000 map, you're never likely to amend all 1,000,000 tiles. So it only kind of records what you do. So potentially you can make bigger maps, but you'd have to be more aware of what you're changing. Like if you deliberately went and changed every tile to a different tile, then it would slow the saving and loading down. So it's always about finding that balance between having good saving and loading times. Like at the moment, like for most maps I can transition in like well under a second from one to another, even on a big map. But once you start getting crazy big, then that can go up, and then there just seems to be lag. So so we haven't set an exact figure for what the final release of the prototype will do, but hopefully if the prototype is successful and we make a second gen, that will be, because it's in a non-scripting language, we'll have more control over memory and hopefully be able to make bigger maps. And also from the private alpha testing that we've done, I've potentially identified a way I can increase saving and loading footprints to speed it up even further. So I'm going to have a tinker around with that when the public alpha is finished.
Nice. So it's currently in a private testing. Is that closed?
Oh, sorry. So yeah, there's 2 testing groups going on at the moment. So we've got the private testers, which have been working on this for about 5 weeks now. They had it just before the public testers, and this is like our elite group of testers that applied and we picked. And these guys have sort of been working from bug fixing. We've then got the public testing. Now, the public testing is the one that ends on the 31st of May. The private testers, we're not taking any more testers at the moment. And these guys will finish testing at some point late next month, but they'll be around kind of so I can fix all the bugs that have been reported that I haven't already fixed, and they may get to see a couple of new features I might try and implement and stuff like that from suggestions that have come in. So yeah, they'll be there to just kind of help me kind of test everything new that goes in and anything that I'm fixing so I don't break everything accidentally.
Right. So once that month is, you said like late next month, and then when could someone expect to be able to participate in the next stage, or what is next?
So basically our plan at present, so once Sable's kind of just gone into it's in its alpha stage at the moment, so our next goal, once the testing has finished, both the private testing, the public testing this month and private testing next month, is the game design team at Ebon Sky Studios will be working away on our first game title, which is called Crimson Eclipse. That will be completely created using Sable. So on one hand, it's kind of a way of us showcasing what Sable can do. We can say, well, we've had Sable for this amount of time. We've got a sound designer. We've got a whole team working on it. This is what we can produce with this. So it's a showcase, if you like, of what Sable can do. But it's also a chance for us to road test Sable fully, like in a big game. Like we've made lots of little projects, and but this will be kind of its first big sort of out on the road test. So it will allow us to identify any potential issues. So the next big project from Ebon Skies will be our game Crimson Eclipse. And then once Crimson Eclipse is released, we will release a beta of Sable, so people can play around. And then, providing that all goes well, we'll then release the final release.
Sweet. That's cool.
But I don't have specific dates for anything yet. We've been kind of trying to avoid giving specific dates, just because in development things change all the time. And once you say a date, you kind of accidentally get held to it. So
exactly.
Just easier to say we just don't know at this stage, and we don't. To be fair, it's such a roadmap. Like I was imagining Sable would be where it is now, like last year, but things came up. We wanted to extend the status effects and abilities, and it was all new cool features, but it all took time to add in. And I'm pleased with the result. But it's one of those things. It's just really difficult in development to give specifics.
Is there? Are you guys still looking for support or donations or anything like that, where people can help out if you guys need it?
No, we've actually been approached by a couple of people, and we must be crazy because we're saying no to donations. I don't know what's happening with us. Like somebody's got a screw loose somewhere in our team. But no, what we want to do is. We're really weary of the moment you take somebody's money, even if it's a donation, you're kind of really tied down to stuff. And we just kind of, we really appreciate anyone who wants to donate. That's fantastic. But it's just great to see people, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Facebook, just show us a little bit of love and, stay up to date with what we're doing. Once it comes out, by all means, go and buy our game and, everything else. And that's cool. But for the moment, we want to just avoid taking donations just because, again, you don't want to get caught into that thing of it feels like you kind of owe people once, even if it's a donation. So, crazy though it sounds, please don't give us money.
It makes total sense. It does make sense. And to avoid the obligation of, keep your dream in mind and put it out there rather than having the obligation of other people's money influencing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would kind of rush me into development. Right. I would feel I need to, at this point, I can feel, everyone wants to see it, but I can feel I can work on it so it's perfect rather than rushing it to get it out because people have paid for it. So,
Awesome. Yeah, so the best thing people can do is go to the channel. The description has the link to his channel, or Ebon Sky Studios' channel. Share it, like it, watch the videos, start developing your own ideas. And, as soon as Sable comes out for purchase, if it's the option, I'm definitely going to be buying myself a copy because I've got so many ideas.
Awesome.
One of the Discord questions from earlier was for low vision people that still use some of their site, are there any visual cues for the game? Or is it just strictly audio?
There aren't. So it is just strictly audio at this stage. Again, because we kept in mind that we have been asked that question before. Actually, it's a really interesting fact. So we've actually taken Sable to a couple of mainstream gaming events. Which has been really interesting. So we've been really lucky to actually take Sable and show it off at a mainstream event, which was a bit bizarre because we were sort of there, alongside the likes of Microsoft with their million pixels per screen, and we were there with our kind of headphones. But do you know what? We actually got a really good response. We didn't know if people would want to come and talk to us or anything, but not only did we have members of the public wanting to try it out, and people were really amazed. People found it really bizarre to start with, trying to navigate via their ears. They were like, "Wow, that's really bizarre." Trying to look at the screen and see something. But a lot of people said it was a really sort of, for want of a better word, an eye-opening experience to kind of try and navigate a world through your hearing. And they kind of said that it felt like it gave them a bit of a kind of feel for how a blind person would navigate. So that was really kind of interesting and not something we were kind of necessarily aiming for, but it really opened up a lot of interest into audio games as well. So not just us, but again, there were sighted gamers there saying, how do blind people game? Like,
Right.
how do blind people make games? That's even more impressive. So it was really cool to kind of create that awareness of audio games. And like I say, we even had sort of some of the bigger companies come over and want to see what we were doing. And yeah, that was just kind of really cool. So,
oh yeah, I mean, like, look at the you mentioned Liam earlier, and I had him on a few weeks ago discussing the GTA 5 mod, and that was just amazing too. So
yeah, I have to confess, I haven't had a chance to play it. I've been super excited about it, but I've just been so swamped with Sable. And GTA with the mod is so on my to-do list once the QA testing finishes. So, a big GTA fan. I think the last one I played was San Andreas. So,
me too. Yeah, we lost our sight around the same time, so we probably played the same last game.
Yeah, it was just such an epic game. I don't think I finished it, and to be fair, I've kept my copy of it. It's kind of if my sight ever comes back, I will finish this. I mean, to be fair, no computer will play it anymore because it's so outdated. But yeah, it's kind of still sits in my cupboard somewhere. But yeah, I love the Grand Theft Auto game, so I'm really looking forward to Liam's mods. I've watched some of his videos on it, and he's just done an amazing job.
It is. I had a question about because you were talking about the directions. Is up always north, down always south, etc.?
Yes, for the moment it is. So it is just based on the cardinal directions rather than a kind of a moving camera, if you like.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to hit up the chat really quick. So if you guys, there's a bunch of chats that came in. So if you guys have any specific questions, I will get to those at the bottom. Welcome. I gotta go all the way to the beginning. Holy moly, guys! There we go. Welcome, Danny. Blind Advocate Network. This is the guy I was trying to simulcast the show onto yesterday, and complete fail.
1:09 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. What up, Blindies?
Blind Guy Show. How are you doing, Greg?
1:10 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all okay. 1:12 p.m.
You too, Danny?
I'm really excited about Sable.
Oh, yeah, man. I have a text.
Thanks for whoever said that comment.
That was Greg Keefe. He's got a pretty cool channel.
Greg.
Yeah, I've got a text document that is huge already, just from the first time that I reviewed your video. And I stayed up pretty much all night last night just writing the script out. It was just, man, I can't wait. Welcome, Natasha.
The average blind guy. Hi, agent.
Average blind guy has 100,000 galactic credits, by the way, in the chat.
18 p.m.
Wow.
Totally geeked. 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah, no kidding, Earth Magic. Oh, yeah, and by the way, before I forget, Earth Magic and Agent, thank you for your 1 month channel membership. Much appreciated.
Is all Sable game data lost when the Alpha expires?
Yes. Well, I don't know. Is the data lost? But
sadly, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, sadly, it won't work once the 31st goes. Mm-hmm. And the likelihood is, because we've had loads of suggestions come in. I can't put everything into Sable, so some stuff might have to wait until Sable Generation 2. But yeah, sadly, some of the things could potentially break projects that have already been made. So, which is another reason for closing the alpha off, because it means I can then work on Sable without having to worry about breaking people's games that are still active, as it were. So
yeah.
1:20 p.m.
So yeah, sorry about that, but yeah, sadly, projects will be lost after the 31st.
Hey everyone. 1:22 p.m. Agent number sign 0%. Hello, average blind guy. 1:30 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Hey agent. Can't wait until they release their game. I'll definitely have to check it out. 1:31 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. It sounds like a professional radio show special guest interview. 1:31 p.m. Danny Maria UC. He prepared well for this one.
I made sure this one was going to be good after last night's fail. Absolutely.
It's always fun to see someone so excited about something. It's so infectious. 1:32 p.m.
I agree.
Danny Mac McKenna. Good old-fashioned radio. TV for the blind.
Yeah.
1:33 p.m. Magic 7. I am already subscribed and more than happy to pay for Sable when it's released.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody to go over there. The link is in the description box, or you could simply search Ebon Sky Studios Sable. It'll be the first result.
1:33 p.m. Danny Maria UC.
You sound just like our logo then, Ebon Sky Studios.
Hey, if you want to pay for a logo, I can do it. Or a day early release. How about that?
Oh, I'm sure I could get you a couple of days early release if you want to stream it on your YouTube channel. So yeah,
that would be awesome.
1:33 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Also, what I really wanted to know was, would the actual platform Sable have visuals, or is it also entirely audio?
Yeah, which we just covered.
1:34 p.m. Danny Mac
Don't worry, I remembered your question.
1:34 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. Wow, I played Vice City last.
Vice City. Oh wait, was Vice City last one? No, which one? San Andreas came out after Vice City, right?
Yeah, I think Vice City was the last one I played through until the end, and Vice City is by far my favourite with Tommy Facchetti.
Yeah.
Love Vice City. I lost hours of my life to that.
I know,
Many a
no
day was
kidding.
bunked off of work. In stupid, I think I lived with with a flatmate at the time, and we kind of had this stupid thing where we would do some of the little side quests, like I don't know, where you had to get in an ambulance and go and rescue a ton of people and like do it in a certain time. And yeah, I'd get back from work and he'd go, I've done it in like 10 seconds like, quicker than you. I'd spend like the next 2 days desperately trying to beat his top score. So yeah, it was just an awesome game. But Vice City was the last one I played all the way through. I think San Andreas only got a little bit of the way in just before I lost my sight, and it went really quickly. So yeah, just didn't get to finish it.
Yeah, I love those open world games.
Thanks to all the members for joining the
It's
channel.
just awesome.
1:36 p.m. Willie Rosado. Hello.
Hey Willie, how you doing, sir? It's been a while since I've seen you in the chat. Welcome.
1:37 p.m.
Maybe if you ask the people in the chat, they can fill you in on how to play Streamlabs.
1:37 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. I'll definitely pay for Sable. I have some ideas.
Oh yeah. Greg's another one. He does a lot of game reviews as well on his YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go over there and check him out, I'm sure. Like my idea. Oh my god. I wish I'm not gonna. Okay, here's a question that I had. When we get Sable and we are able to create our own games, will they be our games? Can we share them with people? Can they play them, or are they just for us?
Yes. No, they will be. So with the alpha, sorry, so I did say the only restriction with the alpha was the map size, but the other restriction we have put in place is for the purpose of the alpha, you can't share your projects with other people. Mm-hmm. So we I coded in sync, so it can only be used on where you basically create it. And it was just to save like a ton of stuff going around that we couldn't kind of control. So, but that's just for the alpha. So once the full release, yes, you'll be able to share your projects with everyone.
And would they have to have Sable as well, or would it be like a video or like a game that you can just download from somewhere?
So this is something that's it's a little bit undecided. It kind of depends on the success of Sable. We've got a couple of different business models that we might roll out with how we distribute and allow people to distribute Sable. Mm-hmm. It kind of just depends on how successful it is. So we've got a couple of ideas, but again, it's one of those areas I just want to avoid tying myself down and saying yes. But yeah, the idea is that you will be able to create games that you can pass out to other people, and yeah, so
okay, cool.
1:30 p.m. Danny McMcKenna. Vice City rules. 1:39 p.m. Willie Rosado. I'm great.
Vice City does rule.
Right. Yeah.
Custom emojis. Button.
All right, caught up there. Cool. So again, if you guys have any questions specifically for Paul, let me know in the chat.
1:39 p.m.
So for anyone who can see my dodgy hair, don't comment about my hair that hasn't been cut in like three months because of Corona. So. Yeah, I really need a haircut.
That's why I go super close. I just shaved again today.
Do you know what? I've been tempted to shave mine off, and like I keep convincing myself that the barbers will reopen soon, and I just wish I'd shaved it off on like month one. But we're so close to the end now, so I'd probably just look like a hippie.
Yeah, I'm in California, and things started opening up a few days ago. So and I believe those types of services are one of the things that opened up. So that's pretty good.
Cool.
By far best. San Andreas came after that. Remember the first GTA with the crow's view above?
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, back in that was like the late mid '90s.
Yeah, I remember getting like GTA London. I think it was actually on the PlayStation 1, and that was like an overhead view.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember the first Grand Theft Auto that I played, you could actually switch to that view for nostalgia or whatever. And I was like, wow,
that's cool.
We actually played that. It was just, wow.
Agent number signs 8%. Unsighted, but listening to all of this makes me want to play. I just may try.
There you go. Yeah, you can definitely, anybody can play. And that's the great thing about the imagination too, is like your brain will fill in the images for you. That's what's really cool.
1:40 p.m.
And just like you were saying, like, once you mention the different terrain sound effects you put in, like let's say you got short grass, tall grass, or dead grass, you can make a different sound for each one, and oh man, it's
exactly. And like it's sound designer's dream, to be fair, because you can just again, if you've got a ton of sounds, like it really does make all the difference. And it's great that we've got our own sound designer, because we can just go to him and he's got tons of sounds. So or we can make us our own music, and it's cool that he kind of creates the the music. I think you may actually come across a couple of his music tracks on our YouTube channel. There's a really bizarre one called the Kazoo track. And yeah, if anyone comes across it, it was just a stupid thing that he put together. So it definitely isn't going to appear in our game. I think he created this really cool town loop. And he was like, "This is what it is, guys. What do you want? Like, what do you want me to change to it?" And he's really good. Like, tell me, like, what emotions you want. Like, and I'm really rubbish when it comes to sounds. So he's like, just, you don't have to tell me exactly. Just, give me an idea of kind of what you want to feel or whatever. And like, we all just sat there and were like, "Oh, that sounds good." And somebody went, "Kazoos everywhere," like as a stupid joke. And like,
we need more cowbell.
Half an hour later, he'd changed the entire town track to use just kazoos. So
wow.
it was just amusing because he had done it. But yeah, anyone who stumbles across that probably looks at it and goes, Why is this town track kazoos? I think we did post the real thing a little while later. So
nice. That's funny.
1:40 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Same agent. I'm legally blind and so fascinated. 1:41 p.m. Danny Maria UC. We have no video for him, by the way.
No video for him? What? Hold on.
That's because people want to see my dodgy haircut now.
I don't know why. It says all cameras are selected.
Let me have a quick look. So I am... 1 second, everyone.
So it's selected. Let me try all cameras. Yep, your camera is checked. Let's try this.
I'm just going to click something on my end.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second.
I'm not sure, guys, because on my end it says that all the cameras are selected, so I'm not quite sure why. Did you, Paul, did you do the NDI?
How's that? Oh, hang on.
1:41 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. I called off work a few times to play San Andreas. LOL.
Oh, 1 second. I think I see why it's not working. Give me 2 seconds.
Yep, no problem. That's right. There's a Mini Cooper. I forgot about that.
1:43 p.m. Logan Humble. Hi.
Hey, Logan. How you doing? First time in the chat, I believe. Welcome. Don't forget to hit that like button, please. Don't forget to head over to Ebon Sky Studios YouTube channel and subscribe to that and share. The more people that we can get this information to, the better.
I think I should be there. I should warn all your viewers I'm using a phone, so it might be synced to my phone. But I think I might have been using the back camera rather than the front camera.
Gotcha.
1:44 p.m. Earth Magic 7. These types of games are brilliant stimulations for the imagination. There isn't enough of that these days.
Exactly, Earth Magic. It is like we need to go back to basically like the roots of things, especially nowadays. Everything is so readily available with no thought behind it. But when you start putting, especially role-playing games, I mean, even like the amount of focus into storyline and creativity in FPS, first-person shooter games, it's pretty intense. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, once you start actually creating a game, you realize just how much goes into it with sounds and thoughts. And like, sometimes when you're playing a game, you don't really sort of see that kind of side of it. So, so yeah.
1:44 p.m. Danny Maria UC. I just thought the no camera was intentional. So when he mentioned his haircut, I figured I'd say something.
Well, thank you. Much appreciated.
1:45 p.m. Streamlabs. Don't forget to 1:45 p.m. Danny Maria UC. It's working now.
Okay, cool.
1:45
Excellent.
Agent number sign 0%.
Sorry about the bad hair again, though.
Custom emojis. Button.
I've also been in my pool all day, so trying to set my pool up for my little boy. So I've probably got like really bad hair, extra bad hair, because of having to climb in my pool, in his pool, and everything else.
Nice. So the game that you created in Crimson, what was it?
Crimson Eclipse.
And there are a couple videos on their YouTube channel again to check that out. I have not checked that out yet.
At the moment.
Oh, there's not?
No, there's not. So there are a couple of Crimson Eclipse soundtracks that our sound designers put up there. So like there's some soundtracks, but there's no actual footage. So we've been we haven't really released much information about Crimson yet.
Okay.
So I think the bigger focus has been on Sable. So hopefully we'll sort of start to get to put more out about Crimson. But there's some cool music tracks in there. In fact, one of them our sound designer actually sings in as well. It sounds like a terrible idea in principle, but it actually works really well. He does kind of like an innkeeper, like an inn song. And yeah, I actually really like the song, to be fair.
Nice. That is really
It's
cool.
like meant to be an ambience for one of the inns in in Crimson Eclipse, and
Nice.
it's quite cool as well because again, it's not really integral to the story or anything. There's a little bit of world building that goes on in the song, and it just talks about. Then again, it's kind of not really designed for that purpose, but it's cool. It's a cool idea to kind of add some sort of world building, and it not in any huge effect, but it just talks about one of the areas, and and I really like that idea of just kind of trying to sneak little bits of world lore in that are kind of not even really part of the game. That's just kind of background ambience. So
Nice. Gotcha. Two things. Sound. First, easy one. Sound files. What format are those? Do they have?
oh, 1 second.
There goes the
Og
old
and
gray.
Wab. It was actually my cup of Pepsi, which is even worse. But that's fine. I caught it in time. It's Og and Wav.
Okay. OGG and WAF. Gotcha. And then what the cool thing is when you the video that I got into, I believe it was something having to do with sounds. But anyway, the panning thing. That is really cool. So if you guys know about panning, this could be used for pretty much location markers. So
Yeah.
and I was thinking like you went into the inn that you made, and the innkeeper said, go find my stone bronze statue. Well, I mean, you could put that somewhere out in the map, right?
Yeah.
And then around the chest or whatever that's hidden in the bush, you could have like crows in that area. So as you get closer, the crows get louder and louder and louder, and you're getting closer. So that's really cool, that panning idea.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the cool things with the alpha, and this is just a fun thing just to play around with that you can do within like a couple of minutes. So if you download the alpha, and literally like it takes maybe 30 seconds to a minute to create a map, fill it with some music and ambience, and you'd be walking around, and then you just press like I think it's number 3 on the numpad row, and it brings up a list of all pannable sounds you can drop in the map. So you've got like beehives and, like you said, crows and crickets, and you just place them around your map, and it's just really cool to be walking around the kind of map that's got all these kind of sounds. It's just a kind of, like I said, it's a really cool thing to be able to do in less than 2-3 minutes. So yeah, it's cool.
You could even do
Actually, talking.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Karen. No, go on.
I was gonna ask. Like, I remember one of the videos that I think it was the one you sent me where you fall in the cavern or whatever. So you could put on the edge. Let me see if I get this straight. So let's say you've got
Have like a warning sound to let you know that you're getting close to that edge. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
1:48 p.m. Danny Mac, McKenna.
So one of the things you did say actually in the video I saw, because I think in the dungeon I created in the second video that you watched, there was like a wind sound when you went down the passageways. And I remember you saying that you were thinking about what you'd have that wasn't a wind sound. So one thing I did have in a little test map, and it worked really, really well, I thought. It wouldn't work in all maps, but it was just a really cool effect. Was every time you went, because it's also the sound's directional, so if there was a corridor to your right, you'd hear it in the right ear, or if it was to the left, it was in the left ear. But I had this like really ethereal voice that kind of went, psst, over here, and it was kind of like just really in the background, but like it was just really kind of a bit eerie but quite cool. Like every time you walk past a carrot corridor, you just hear this kind of voice calling from the very distant, like psst, over here.
That's cool.
And it kind of freaked people out when they first played. They're like, did I just hear something? Yeah, it was there. But it was just it made a nice change from the conventional wind sound that you see all too often. And again, I've played around with loads of cool stuff like that, just for the fun of just doing it. So again, obviously it wouldn't have made sense without any real reason why, but I think in the map there was somebody lost, and you could just kind of hear every now and again, or and I think there's another one where I had somebody kind of following with me, and again, fun use with just mucking around with different sounds.
Nice.
1:48 p.m. Danny Mac, McKenna. My hair looks like a bird's nest that hosted spring break. 1:49 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. LOL Danny Mac. 1:50 p.m. Agent number sign C%. Omeo Danny Mac. 1:50 p.m. Streamlabs. If you feel 1:50 p.m. Streamlabs. Custom emojis. Button.
Okay, cool. Oh man. Oops. There we go. Throw that in your game.
Gotta love a bit of Mario.
Yeah. As far as the levels go, Now, what I was thinking, man, I mean, so like you had the dungeon, right? You created the dungeon. Are there sub-level terrains, or would that be a separate map? Could you just make
Yes.
those maps connecting?
So yeah, so what you could do is you could use the z-axis here. So I've had tunnel systems or cave systems where you've kind of climbed up or down the z-axis. So you kind of go through the cave and then you find a kind of staircase in the cave, and that will take you up to the second Z level, or down. Like I've had maps where you've kind of started on level 2, if you like, and then you've gone into the basement, and then you found a way out into the basement, into the sewers. So you're kind of wandering around underneath the world. So that's the cool thing with being able to create different Z level, Z axis levels. So you can obviously like I say, you can go up and down as well as. Again, you could have your cave system where you need to go up or down 2 levels or whatever to get out of the cave. So yeah.
I noticed too that you had certain sound sets. Maybe it was on the website, but it said something about modern, fantasy, sci-fi, that sort of thing. Are you going to have elemental maps? Like, let's say you want to make a fantasy map, or you want to make a science or a modern map. Will those automatically load? So those will be your primary sound sets and elements and that sort of thing.
So what we want to do is, again, 'cause I think a lot of people will have sounds themselves. So a lot of people want to add their own sounds. So, and again, this is one of those things that we haven't quite set into concrete yet, but we'll probably release Sable with a minimal amount of sounds. So there's enough to kind of get you going and kind of, get you up and running, whatever else. But I think what we'll probably do is because we have a sound designer, we'll more than likely sell sound packs. So if people want to come and buy a fancy sound pack or some futuristic, the idea is it will kind of work in conjunction. So you can come and buy the engine from us if you want. You can buy sound sets from us. By all means you can go and buy them elsewhere, or you can use your own. But because some people won't have access to sound libraries, we just thought it makes sense to, if you're going to offer a game engine where you can add your own sounds, we might as well sell sounds as well. So so you'll be able to, if you don't have sound, you'll be able to come to us and we'll be able to provide sound packs as well.
Nice.
Chat message input. Custom 1:52 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. The panning sounds could be used as landmarks as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of, Greg. Landmarks.
1:53 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Panning is epic and just music making a piece feel big and making you feel present. But in games, it can make it seem so much more realistic. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've got a couple of maps where I've got rivers and I've got panning sounds in the rivers, so you can actually, and you can step into the river and hear the river sounds, but actually coming up to the river and hearing the river flowing and stuff just makes it so much more realistic. Or heading over the bridge, and I didn't actually do it in the demo because there is a bridge I go over of the river, but I didn't add panning sounds to it. But adding, panning sounds just brings the whole thing to life as you're walking over the bridge and hear the water sort of flowing underneath you. Just kind of really creates that kind of world around you. And again, a couple of birds chirping by in the background, and
So if you've got a bridge that's going over a river, and let's say, I don't know, you got a 2 square river wide, and then I'm guessing the bridge would be 2 squares as well. Do you add that sound to each panning sound to each 4 tiles, 2 on each side of the bridge?
So for the moment, so one of the things I'd like to add, and again, whether this makes it or not, is I'd like to add a way of, so in Sable you can create some things. You can create like a size transition, which you can make as big as you like. So rather than just having a door land on one spot, you can stretch it out like you do with the buildings and make it like as big as you like. And I'd like to do something similar to that with panning sounds. So, because at the moment you would have to place panning sounds at kind of intervals, every so long. So, put like maybe, space them out. Because if you put them all together, it'd sound like you'd had a huge like river rapids running towards you. But yeah, so you'd have to sort of cleverly pan them out, space them out a little bit. But I'd like to add a sized panning object, so you could create a big panning river that would just be like one thing, rather than tediously having to go through and place them all. So that's on my suggestions list.
Nice. And this is just sounds, you guys. Like this whole game. I keep saying game, but it will be your game. It will be your game. But this, what do you call it? game creator.
And so an engine or set of developer tools or engine is the most common
Right.
thing. So yeah.
So this engine, you guys can, like I said, it's fully customizable. You can create all sorts of characters, and I'm guessing you can create your own characters, own names. You can assign attributes to each character, starting attributes, starting weapons, all sorts of. It is endless on what type of game that you can create. It's so
1:52
fascinating.
p.m. The Blind Guy Show. The panning sounds. 1:53 p.m. Danny Maria. 1:54 p.m. The Blind Guy Show. Hey Joe. 1:56 p.m. Danny Maria. UC.
Oh, is Joe in here somewhere?
Got over. LOL.
I didn't see Joe.
1:56 p.m. Danny Maria. UC. See, that's the part I geek out over. LOL.
Yeah, no doubt, Danny. If he's here, Joe Quirk, I don't know if you know about Mental Vision Games. He created Circus Master's Revenge.
I've heard of I've heard of the game, but I haven't played it, but I have heard of it.
I got a couple
That's
reviews
cool.
on my channel for that as well. So yeah, he's
Oh,
in the
cool.
chat.
Check
He's a good friend of mine. He's the one that actually turned me on to a lot of the people that I've come in contact with, including Jesse Anderson. So it's
Cool.
really opened up a lot of doors for me to get these interviews, basically, and talk to some really cool people like yourself.
1:56 p.m. Danny Maria.
Yeah, Jesse. I think Jesse did a big stream of Sable as well, and yeah, I've spoken to Jesse a little bit over email as he had a load of questions just regarding Sable and what it could do and how he'd go about this, and we sort of back and forth only a little bit by email, but just to sort of share some ideas, and he had some really good suggestions and wanted to know like how he could do this and that, and he seemed really excited about Sable, so that was cool.
That is really cool.
He or she, I'm not sure again whether it is a he or a she, sorry. So I think you said it was a he.
Yes.
Oh, I assumed it was, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Now, you said that you had put out it in some kind of forum, right?
Yep.
And then how was that received? You said you got a lot of good information from
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, definitely. So we put it out as a public release, and we just didn't know how it was going to go, to be fair. Like I say, we knew that the people that had been following us for the last year would really like it because, again, they followed it, and we've got a really good really good fan base and people that really enjoyed it. So we knew that would go down well. We just didn't know how well received it would be by people that didn't know about it before. And I think that the problem with Sable is it's up in the audio game forum, and I think instantly when people see that it's an engine for creating games, I think a lot of people tune out straight away because they think, well, I can't code, so that doesn't really apply to me. And I think that's been one of the biggest things. Like, people have said, oh, I've seen that topic come up loads, but I didn't realize that's what it was. I didn't realize I could create something with it. So that was a really good thing. But no, it's been a really positive response. Like, we've had, do you know what? It's actually been overwhelmingly positive. Like, I've had people private messaging me, just telling me how amazing it is, and like how they never thought they could create games, and like this has opened up a whole new world to them. And like I said, it's been a really positive experience, as I didn't think it would have that kind of impact. But like I say, it's been overwhelming, the amount of private messages I've had saying how amazed people are with the idea or the concept or the fact that we've created things so other people can create their own games. So yeah, that's been like I said, it's been a hugely positive experience. So and everyone that seems to have played it seems to have just really enjoyed it. So
I just had an idea.
go on.
Okay. Each player gets a map, and they get to make their map. I don't know. Let's just say 100 by 100, right? And that is their territory.
Okay.
And then you can have an online game where you can travel from each person's map.
So sadly, that is a limitation of Sable at the moment. There is an online play. I should have mentioned that. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, there is an online play, so it is a single player rather than an online game. Sorry, should have mentioned. My bad.
This was just kind of like an idea I just had, but it would be kind of, and I'm thinking of so many games in the past, primarily on mobile, like Mafia Wars, for example.
Oh, yep.
It's geotagging, so as you go to different areas, you can play against players, whatever. So that's kind of like what I was thinking about. You could have your own little territory, and I don't know.
It's a really cool idea. And again, I think, I'd love to see what can appear in Gen 2 of Sable if this first one's successful. So But yeah, sadly, just online isn't like, well, definitely won't make it into this version. Pardon me, into this version. But yeah, who knows what's around for Sable Gen 2?
1:59 p.m. Birth Magic 7. Sadly, I have to leave. Thank you so much for sharing, Paul. I'm looking forward to loads of mind-blowing game composition. Excellent interview, Isor.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here, channel member. I think I
1:56
missed
p.m. Danny Maria
one.
UC. See, that's the part I geek out over.
Nope, I didn't.
1:59.
Yeah. How about obviously this is for Windows PC, right?
Yeah.
Only. Okay. I understand it's really difficult for developers to get their stuff in Apple, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've never tried, but again, that's the thing I've heard. And sadly, I think the thing with Apple is because they update their systems so rigorously. Like, I've seen some really good games come along, particularly on mobile for Apple, as I'm an Apple user as far as my phone goes. But sadly, when iOS has changed drastically, the games have just disappeared because there's too much involved in having to change the games. Like, there was the I'm just trying to think of the name of the game now. Something else games, I think they were called, or somewhere else, something else. And I think they had a famous guy actually voice line the thing out, and I can't think of who the guy is, but he's the guy that always gets killed in mainstream films. You know, if you see him, you know he's going to be dead come the end of the film. And I can't think of his name.
Danny Trejo?
No, he was in Game of. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched Game of Thrones, but I'm sure everyone has. The guy that dies like in probably the first episode or first. I can't think of who his name is, but he's well known in the mainstream world that like he only plays roles where he pretty much dies in the film. Funny. So you know if you see him, he's a goner. But yeah, he actually did the voice lines for a game called Papa Sanga by something or somewhere else.
Yeah, Papa Sanga. I remember that was the first audio game that I played on my iPhone back in the day.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's going to bug me for the rest of the evening and now as to who the guy was that did the voice acting for that. But yeah, he's been in loads of stuff. He's been a James Bond villain, dead. As soon as you see him like dead, you know he's going to be dead. But yeah, no, it was really cool that he did that. But again, their games expired after a few iOS updates because they just said they had to do so much work to keep on top of it. And sadly, I've seen other games like that just come and go because sadly they need to. But again, I'm a huge Apple fan, so I love my iPhone. I'd be lost without it.
Me too. I'm so ingrained in the Apple ecosphere that
yeah, exactly.
I do everything on my Macs. So, Sixth Sense. That was another good one.
Oh, I don't. It rings a bell.
That was that was an amazing audio game.
I think my favourite. I think Papa Sanga was. I think that Papa Sanga was a really good game. It was just well voice acted out. Still can't remember the name of the guy. They also did a zombie arena game, which was quite fun to play. But again, both of those expired. A favourite of mine, it's a really simple game on iOS, but there's a game called A Dark Room, which I love on iOS. Really simple in its nature, but it's a fond favourite of mine. Nice. And actually, for Windows games, audio games, I've got a special place in my heart for Entombed, which is probably the first audio game that I played. And because of that, I just love Entombed. Again, it's a little bit dated now, but even dated though it is, I still love Entombed. And obviously, most recently, A Hero's Call. Love the soundscapes in A Hero's Call.
Yeah, actually, Blind Guy Show, Greg in the chat, he's the one that told me about A Hero's Call, so that's actually next on my list to try out and review, since I did just get a Windows computer finally, not too long ago.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, soundscape-wise, it's phenomenal. It feels like you're playing a mainstream game. I loved it because I could plug my Xbox controller in as well, and it really did feel like I was back mainstream gaming because the sound quality is so good.
That's awesome.
So yeah, you'll love that.
Speaking of the iOS game, Circus Master's Revenge is interesting because get yourself a spinny office chair because you have to turn to face your enemies.
I love those games.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
And I love it because I look crazy as I sit on my chair and spin round. Actually, I think, have you ever heard of the game Swamp?
No.
Okay, so Swamp's a first-person shooter that's quite well known in the audio games community. I think a guy called Prone or Jason Allen, depending on how you know him, created it. It's just a really good first-person zombie shooter. But he decided, and I think he discontinued it, but he created this thing, and I'm going to get corrected here, I'm sure, by somebody. I'm sure he called it the Sea Monkey. And basically it was a device that you could buy, and you could attach it to a little headband on your head, and it would track your movement. So because it's a first-person shooter, as you moved your head, you would turn in game, which was just really cool back in the day, because that was probably about 8 years ago. And again, obviously, it's fairly standard tech in the sighted world, but it was really cool tech for back then. And I had hours of fun, but my little boy would be looking at me like, "What are you doing, Dad?"
That's funny. Swamp.
Danny Maria UC. Sean Bean?
No, he doesn't die in every movie, but was it Sean Bean?
It was Sean Bean,
was
yeah.
It?
It was, yeah. I think he dies in most movies, to be fair. It's a bit of an ongoing joke that people only cast him that if he's gonna snuff it come the end.
Yeah. He does not.
Thank you for whoever.
He does not die in. That was Danny. Yeah.
Thanks, Danny.
He does not die in Ronin. I will say that. One of my favorite movies.
Oh, okay. I remember him being in that, actually.
Mm-hmm. He was the fake IRI guy.
That's it, yeah.
There's another one I was just thinking of. Oh, Patriot Games. Of course, he dies in that.
2:07 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Is that the actor he's referring to?
Yep.
2:08 p.m.
Yes.
Mac McKenna. Fight with Magic. Custom emojis. Button.
There we
2:08
go.
p.m. Danny Mac McKenna.
Well, we've gone for an hour. It's usually about where I keep my interviews. So why don't you go ahead and give out any information you'd like the people to hear, and of course, it will be in the description box below, so they can click on it.
Cool. Well, firstly, thank you everyone for tuning in and for listening to me and putting up my dodgy haircut. But if anyone does want to try Sable, like I say, it's available until the midnight on the 31st of May. So check it out over the weekend. I know it doesn't give you a lot of time to play with it, but download it, check it out. Like I say, you can just, even if you're only going to create something really basic, give it a look, check it out. And if you've got any questions, suggestions, you can reach me at info@ebonskystudios.com. If you check out our YouTube channel, which is, I believe, in the video description, that's got all our contact details in there. If you want to follow us on Facebook, stay up to date on news and stuff of Sable, then check us out there. But just check out the YouTube channel and some of the videos. Like I say, drop them a like if you do. And if you've got any questions, just let me know. But do, like I say, check out Sable, the alpha download if you haven't already. And give it a try. I know it's only a couple of days, but hopefully you'll have some fun making some stuff over the next couple of days.
I'm really tempted, but at the same time, I don't want to get heartbroken because I'm like, man, it's only 2 days.
I've had so many people say that. Like, I don't want to create some masterpiece and then lose it at the end of it.
It's gone.
But definitely when the beta comes out, I'll if I need to run it past the team, but if I can, I will see if I get you a copy maybe a couple of days before, so you can kind of show it on your stream if you get a chance.
Oh, I would love to do that. That would be amazing.
Awesome. Is that the actor he's referring to? 2:08 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. Fight with Magic. 2:09 p.m. Agent number signed 0%. I felt I should share the dedication and creativity my 12-year-old has to the gaming world. I told him he needed to go outside and play, so he took his Xbox and TV outside and is playing on the patio.
That is awesome. That is.
Danny Mac McKenna. It was pre-VR.
That was awesome.
2:10 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. Omeo patio lawn party. 2:10 p.m. Danny Maria UC. Woo, that is interesting. Agent. Haha. 2:10 p.m. Streamlabs. If you feel 2:10 p.m. Danny Mac McKenna. I will check it out.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Custom emojis. Button.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for Danny to let me know it was Sean Bean. I would have been up all night trying to Google it or whatever. I can sleep easy tonight knowing it was Sean Bean, so it's all good.
That's one of those names too. It's not quite common, but it is just common enough to be forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a good actor. Don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those guys. So.
Yeah, it's a very average name, isn't it? Yeah. There's nothing that stands out about Sean Bean. Except
when you see it, you would think Scene Bean. You know?
Yes, exactly.
I can't complain. My
But yeah,
game is Sean.
it's funny. I have no idea how they got him to as the voice actor for an audio game, though, because again, audio games aren't that big and stuff. So how they managed to get him on board for that, I kind of wonder whether maybe he knows somebody that's blind and kind of had a kind of special place, really wanted to help out and do something. But but it's cool that he did do it anyway. So.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Well, Paul.
But no, a huge thanks for inviting me onto the show as well.
Man. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. And we'll definitely stay in contact. I'll get some updates for you here and there if you don't mind. And I'll update my audience.
Definitely.
And very excited. We can't wait for it to come out to get our hands on it.
Awesome. Fantastic to see people excited about it. Like, it's just really, like I said, as a developer, it's just great to see people excited like that. It really sort of motivates me to carry on. So huge thanks for that. Absolutely. And huge thanks to anyone else who's downloaded it and for all the positive comments over the show today.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Don't forget the codeless. You need no code for Sable, your own audio game creation engine. Look forward to that. This is Theory of a Blind Man. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next time, don't forget, love is blind. Keep it blind.